Let me take you back to a moment that changed everything for a young man named Alex. It was a cold winter morning, and Alex had set his alarm for 5 a.m. to hit the gym. But when the alarm blared, he hit snooze. Not once, not twice, but 5 times. By the time he woke up, the sun was high and the gym was packed. He felt a pang of guilt, but it wasn't just about skipping the gym. It was about the countless times he'd promised himself he'd change. Start eating healthier, finish that project, read more books, only to fall back into old habits. Sound familiar? This is where Sheldon Howe's How to Be Disciplined steps in. It's not just another self-help book filled with generic advice, it's a roadmap, a deeply personal and practical guide to mastering self-discipline written by someone who's been in the trenches. Howe doesn't just tell you what to do, he shows you how to do it step by step with real-life examples and actionable strategies. The book begins by addressing a hard truth. Discipline isn't about being perfect, it's about progress. It's about showing up, even when you don't feel like it. Howe argues that discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishments, and without it, even the most talented individuals fall short. But here's the good news. Discipline is a skill, not a trait, and like any skill, it can be learned, practiced, and mastered. Howe introduces the concept of the discipline blueprint, a framework built on 3 pillars: mindset, habits, and accountability. He explains that discipline starts in the mind. You have to believe that change is possible, and you have to be willing to fight for it. But it doesn't stop there. Discipline is also about building the right habits, small, consistent actions that compound over time. And finally, it's about holding yourself accountable, whether through self-reflection, tracking progress, or enlisting the help of others. As we dive deeper into the book, Howe shares stories of people who transformed their lives through discipline. There's Sarah, a single mother who went from drowning in debt to financial freedom by sticking to a strict budget. Then there's James, a struggling entrepreneur who turned his failing business into a thriving empire by mastering time management. These stories aren't just inspiring, they're proof that discipline works, no matter where you start. But Howe doesn't sugarcoat the journey. He acknowledges that discipline is hard. It requires sacrifice, effort, and resilience. There will be days when you want to quit, when the temptation to give in feels overwhelming. But as Howe puts it, discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most. And that's the heart of the book, helping you align your daily actions with your long-term goals. So if you've ever felt stuck in a cycle of procrastination, self-doubt, or lack of motivation, this book is for you. It's a call to action, a reminder that you have the power to change your life. One disciplined decision at a time. Part 2. The first pillar, mindset. Now, let's talk about the foundation of discipline, mindset. Sheldon Howe starts this section with a powerful question. Do you believe you can change? It's a simple question, but the answer determines everything. Howe shares the story of a man named Michael who struggled with his weight for years. Michael had tried every diet, every workout plan, but nothing worked. Why? Because deep down, he didn't believe he could change. He saw himself as someone who was just meant to be overweight. It wasn't until he shifted his mindset, believing that he could and would change, that the real transformation began. This is the core of Howe's first pillar. Discipline starts in the mind. He explains that your mindset is like the operating system of your life. If it's outdated or filled with self-doubt, no amount of effort will get you where you want to go. But if you upgrade your mindset, you unlock the potential to achieve anything. Howe breaks this down into 3 key principles. The power of belief. Discipline begins with believing in yourself. Howe emphasizes that self-discipline isn't about being perfect, it's about progress. You don't have to be a superhero to start. You just have to believe that small, consistent actions will add up over time. He shares a simple but profound truth. You don't have to see the whole staircase to take the first step. Embracing the grind. Discipline isn't glamorous. It's about doing the hard things, even when you don't feel like it. Howe tells the story of a writer named Emily who dreamed of publishing a novel but struggled to write consistently. She'd wait for inspiration to strike, but it rarely did. It wasn't until she embraced the grind, writing 500 words every single day, no matter what, that she finished her book. Howe's message here is clear. Motivation gets you started, but discipline keeps you going. Reframing failure. One of the biggest obstacles to discipline is the fear of failure. Howe argues that failure isn't the enemy, it's a teacher. He shares the story of a young athlete named David who missed the game-winning shot in a championship game. Instead of letting that failure define him, David used it as fuel to train harder and come back stronger the next season. Howe's advice? Don't fear failure. Learn from it, grow from it, and let it propel you forward. Howe also introduces a practical exercise to help readers cultivate a disciplined mindset: the Daily Discipline Journal. Every night you write down 3 things. One thing you did well that day, to build confidence. One thing you could improve, to stay humble and focused. One action you'll take tomorrow to move closer to your goals, to stay intentional. This simple practice helps you stay grounded, focused, and motivated, even on the toughest days. As Howe wraps up this section, he leaves readers with a thought-provoking idea. Discipline is the ultimate form of self-love. It's not about punishing yourself or living a restrictive life. It's about making choices that align with your values, your goals, and your vision for the future. So, if you've ever doubted yourself or felt stuck in a cycle of procrastination, remember this. Your mindset is the key. Believe in your ability to change, embrace the grind, and don't let fear hold you back. Because once you master your mindset, you're unstoppable. Part 3, the second pillar, habits, part 1 of 2. Now that we've laid the foundation with mindset, let's move to the second pillar of Sheldon Howe's discipline blueprint, habits. Howe begins this section with a striking analogy. Your life today is essentially the sum of your habits. Think about that for a moment. What you repeatedly do, what you eat, how you spend your time, the way you handle stress, shapes your health, your career, your relationships, and ultimately your destiny. Howe shares the story of a woman named Lisa who wanted to write a book but could never find the time. She'd wait for the perfect moment, a quiet weekend, a burst of inspiration, but it never came. Then she decided to make one small change. She committed to writing just 200 words every morning before work. At first it felt insignificant, but over time those 200 words added up. 6 months later, she had a completed manuscript. This is the power of habits. They're small, consistent actions that compound over time. Howe explains that discipline isn't about making grand, sweeping changes overnight. It's about building the right habits, one step at a time. He introduces the concept of habit stacking, a technique where you attach a new habit to an existing one. For example, if you want to start meditating, you could do it right after brushing your teeth in the morning. By linking the new habit to something you already do, you make it easier to stick with it. Howe also emphasizes the importance of starting small. He tells the story of a man named Tom who wanted to get in shape but felt overwhelmed by the idea of working out for an hour every day. Instead, Tom started with just 5 minutes of exercise each morning. It wasn't much, but it was doable. And as he built the habit, he gradually increased the time. Within a year, Tom was working out for an hour a day and loving it. But here's the thing, building habits isn't just about action, it's also about environment. Howe explains that your surroundings play a huge role in shaping your behavior. If you want to eat healthier, for example, don't keep junk food in the house. If you want to read more, keep a book on your nightstand. By designing your environment to support your goals, you make it easier to stay disciplined. Howe also tackles one of the biggest challenges of habit building, staying consistent. He shares a simple but powerful strategy. Focus on streaks. The idea is to track how many days in a row you've done the habit. Even if you only do it for a minute, it counts. The longer your streak, the more motivated you'll be to keep it going. As Howe wraps up the first half of this section, he leaves readers with a thought-provoking question. What small habit could you start today that would change your life a year from now? It's a reminder that discipline isn't about perfection, it's about progress. And sometimes the smallest steps lead to the biggest transformations. Part 4, the second pillar. Habits, now. Let's dive deeper into the second pillar of the discipline blueprint, habits. In this part, Sheldon Howe explores how to overcome common obstacles and make your habits stick for the long term. One of the biggest challenges people face when building habits is resistance. Howe explains that resistance is that inner voice that says, "I don't feel like it," or "I'll do it tomorrow." It's the force that keeps you hitting snooze instead of going for a run or scrolling through social media instead of working on your goals. Howe shares the story of a woman named Rachel who struggled with resistance every time she tried to start a new habit. She'd set a goal to exercise every morning, but when the alarm went off, she'd convince herself to sleep in. It wasn't until she learned to outsmart resistance that she finally broke the cycle. Howe's strategy for overcoming resistance is simple but effective. Make it easy. If you're struggling to start a habit, lower the barrier to entry. For example, if you want to run every morning, start by just putting on your running shoes. If you want to read more, start with just one page. The key is to take the first step, no matter how small. Once you've started, it's much easier to keep going. Another obstacle to building habits is boredom. Let's face it, repetition can get monotonous. Howe acknowledges this but argues that boredom is part of the process. He shares the story of a musician named Jake, who practiced the same scales every day for years. It wasn't exciting, but it was necessary. Over time, those repetitive practices turned Jake into a world-class guitarist. Howe's advice: embrace the monotony. Discipline isn't always fun, but it's always worth it. And if you're feeling bored, try adding variety to your routine. For example, if you're tired of running the same route, explore a new trail. If you're bored with your diet, try new recipes. Small changes can make a big difference. Finally, Howe addresses the importance of celebrating wins. He explains that celebrating your progress, no matter how small, reinforces the habit and keeps you motivated. For example, if you've stuck to your workout routine for a week, treat yourself to something you enjoy. It doesn't have to be big, even a small reward can make a difference. As Howe wraps up this section, he leaves readers with a powerful reminder. Habits are the building blocks of discipline. They're the small, consistent actions that add up to big results over time. And while building habits isn't always easy, it's always worth it. So if you're ready to take control of your life, start with your habits. Identify one small change you can make today and commit to it. Remember, discipline isn't about being perfect, it's about progress. And every step you take brings you closer to the life you want. Part 5. The third pillar. Accountability. We've covered mindset and habits, the first two pillars of Sheldon Howe's discipline blueprint. Now let's dive into the third and final pillar, accountability. This is where the rubber meets the road and where many people either succeed or fall short. Howe begins this section with a story about a man named Daniel who set a goal to run a marathon. Daniel was motivated at first. He bought new running shoes, mapped out a training plan, and even signed up for the race. But as the weeks went by, his enthusiasm waned. He skipped workouts, made excuses, and eventually gave up altogether. What went wrong? According to Howe, Daniel lacked accountability. He was trying to do it all on his own. And when the going got tough, he had no one to turn to for support. This is the power of accountability. It's the glue that holds discipline together. When you're accountable to someone, or even to yourself, you're more likely to follow through on your commitments. Howe explains that accountability comes in many forms. It can be a mentor, a coach, a friend, or even a group of like-minded individuals. The key is to find someone who will hold you to your word and encourage you when you're struggling. He shares the story of a woman named Maria who wanted to start her own business but kept procrastinating. She'd set deadlines for herself, but without anyone to hold her accountable, she kept pushing them back. Then she joined a mastermind group of entrepreneurs who met weekly to share their progress and challenges. Suddenly, Maria had a reason to stay on track. She didn't want to show up to the meetings empty-handed. Within a year, she had launched her business and was thriving. Howe also introduces the concept of self-accountability. While external accountability is powerful, it's equally important to hold yourself accountable. He suggests keeping a discipline journal where you track your progress, reflect on your challenges, and celebrate your wins. This simple practice helps you stay honest with yourself and reinforces your commitment to your goals. As Howe wraps up the first part of this section, he leaves readers with a thought-provoking question. Who or what are you accountable to? It's a reminder that discipline isn't a solo journey. Whether it's a mentor, a friend, or a journal, accountability is the key to staying on track, even when the going gets tough. Part 6, the third pillar, accountability. Now, let's explore how to build a system of accountability that works for you. Sheldon Howe starts this part by emphasizing that accountability isn't one size fits all. What works for one person might not work for another. The key is to find a system that aligns with your personality, your goals, and your lifestyle. Howe shares the story of a man named Chris, who struggled with staying consistent in his fitness journey. He'd start strong but lose momentum after a few weeks. Then he discovered the power of public accountability. Chris started posting his workout progress on social media, sharing his wins and challenges with his followers. Suddenly, he had an audience rooting for him and holding him accountable. It wasn't long before Chris was in the best shape of his life. This is the power of public accountability. When you share your goals with others, you create a sense of responsibility. You don't want to let people down, and that can be a powerful motivator. But public accountability isn't for everyone. For some, it feels too intimidating or invasive. Howe acknowledges this and offers an alternative: partner accountability. This is where you team up with a friend, family member, or colleague who shares similar goals. You check in with each other regularly, celebrate your progress, and hold each other accountable. Howe tells the story of two co-workers, Sarah and Emily, who wanted to eat healthier. They decided to team up and hold each other accountable. Every day, they'd text each other photos of their meals. It wasn't about judgment, it was about support. Over time, Sarah and Emily developed healthier eating habits and even inspired their co-workers to join in. Howe also emphasizes the importance of regular check-ins. Whether it's a weekly meeting with a mentor, a daily text with a friend, or a monthly review of your discipline journal, regular check-ins keep you focused and motivated. As Howe wraps up this part, he leaves readers with a powerful reminder. Accountability isn't about punishment, it's about support. It's about creating a system that helps you stay on track, even when life gets busy or challenging. Part 7, the third pillar, accountability. In the final part of this section, Sheldon Howe dives into the ultimate form of accountability, self-discipline. While external accountability is important, true discipline comes from within. It's about making a commitment to yourself and sticking to it no matter what. Howe shares the story of a woman named Anna who wanted to write a novel but struggled with self-doubt. She'd start writing, then delete everything because it didn't feel good enough. It wasn't until she made a promise to herself to write every day, no matter what, that she finally finished her book. This is the essence of self-discipline. It's about showing up for yourself, even when no one is watching. It's about keeping the promises you make to yourself, no matter how small. Howe introduces a powerful exercise to help readers cultivate self-discipline, the daily promise. Every morning, you make one small promise to yourself, something you can realistically accomplish that day. It could be as simple as drinking 8 glasses of water, reading 10 pages of a book, or meditating for 5 minutes. The key is to keep that promise, no matter what. Over time, this practice builds trust in yourself. You start to believe that you can follow through on your commitments, and that belief spills over into every area of your life. Howe also emphasizes the importance of self-compassion. Discipline isn't about being perfect, it's about progress. If you slip up, don't beat yourself up. Instead, reflect on what went wrong, learn from it, and move forward. As Howe wraps up this section, he leaves readers with a powerful message. Discipline is the ultimate form of self-respect. It's about honoring your goals, your values, and your potential. And when you make a commitment to yourself and keep it, you unlock a level of confidence and fulfillment that nothing else can match. So whether it's through external accountability, self-accountability, or a combination of both, remember this. Discipline is a journey, not a destination. And every step you take brings you closer to the life you want. Part 8, applying the discipline blueprint, bringing it all together. Now that we've explored the 3 pillars of Sheldon Howe's discipline blueprint, mindset, habits, and accountability, it's time to bring it all together. In this section, Howe provides a step-by-step guide to applying the blueprint to your own life, no matter where you're starting from. He begins with a story about a man named Alex who felt stuck in a rut. Alex had big dreams. He wanted to start his own business, get in shape, and spend more time with his family, but he didn't know where to start. Every time he tried to make a change, he'd get overwhelmed and give up. Then Alex discovered the discipline blueprint. He started by working on his mindset, replacing self-doubt with self-belief. He built small, consistent habits, like waking up 30 minutes earlier to work on his business plan. And he held himself accountable by sharing his goals with a close friend. Over time, Alex's life began to change. He launched his business, lost 20 pounds, and started spending more quality time with his family. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. Howe uses Alex's story to illustrate a key point. Discipline is a skill, not a trait. It's something you can learn, practice, and master, no matter where you're starting from. The first step in applying the discipline blueprint is to define your vision. What do you want to achieve? What kind of life do you want to create? Howe emphasizes that your vision should be clear, specific, and meaningful to you. It's not about what others expect of you, it's about what you truly want. Once you've defined your vision, the next step is to break it down into goals. Howe suggests using the SMART framework: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. For example, instead of saying, "I want to get in shape," you might say, "I want to lose 10 pounds in 3 months by exercising 4 times a week and eating a balanced diet." The final step is to create an action plan. This is where the 3 pillars come into play. You'll need to cultivate the right mindset, build the right habits, and establish a system of accountability to stay on track. As Howe wraps up this part, he leaves readers with a thought-provoking question. What's one small step you can take today to move closer to your vision? It's a reminder that discipline isn't about making huge changes overnight. It's about taking consistent, intentional action, one step at a time. Part 9, Applying the Discipline Blueprint, Overcoming Obstacles. In this part, Sheldon Howe dives into the challenges you're likely to face on your discipline journey and how to overcome them. He starts with a powerful truth. Discipline is hard, but it's worth it. Howe shares the story of a woman named Jessica who wanted to save money for a down payment on a house. She created a budget, cut back on unnecessary expenses, and started tracking her spending. But after a few weeks, she hit a wall. She felt deprived, frustrated, and tempted to give up. This is where most people fail. They give in to temptation, make excuses, or convince themselves that their goals aren't worth the effort. But Jessica didn't give up. Instead, she reminded herself of her vision, owning a home for her family, and used it as motivation to stay disciplined. Howe explains that overcoming obstacles requires a combination of mindset, habits, and accountability. Here are his top strategies. Anticipate challenges. Life is unpredictable, and obstacles are inevitable. The key is to anticipate them and have a plan in place. For example, if you know you'll be tempted to skip your workout when you're tired, plan to do it first thing in the morning. Reframe setbacks. When you slip up, don't see it as a failure. See it as a learning opportunity. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I do better next time? Lean on your support system. Accountability is crucial when the going gets tough. Reach out to your mentor, friend, or accountability partner for support and encouragement. Celebrate small wins. Discipline is a marathon, not a sprint. Celebrate your progress along the way to stay motivated. Howe also emphasizes the importance of resilience. Discipline isn't about never falling, it's about getting back up every time you do. He shares the story of a man named Ryan who failed his first attempt at starting a business. Instead of giving up, Ryan used the experience as fuel to try again. His second business was a success, and he credits his resilience and his discipline for getting him there. As Howe wraps up this part, he leaves readers with a powerful reminder. Obstacles are not roadblocks, they are stepping stones. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to grow, learn, and become stronger. Part 10, Applying the Discipline Blueprint, Living a Disciplined Life, Part 3 of 3. In the final part of the book, Sheldon Howe explores what it means to live a disciplined life and how to sustain it over the long term. He starts with a simple but profound truth. Discipline is not a destination, it's a way of life. Howe shares the story of a woman named Laura, who transformed her life through discipline. Laura started small, focusing on one habit at a time, waking up early, eating healthier, exercising regularly. Over time, these habits became second nature, and Laura's life began to change in ways she never imagined. But Laura's journey wasn't without challenges. There were days when she felt like giving up, when the temptation to revert to old habits was overwhelming. What kept her going was her commitment to her vision and her belief in herself. Howe explains that sustaining discipline requires 3 things. Continuous growth. Discipline is a lifelong journey. Keep learning, growing, and challenging yourself to reach new heights. Adaptability. Life is constantly changing, and so are your goals and priorities. Be willing to adapt your habits and routines as needed. Gratitude. Take time to appreciate how far you've come and the progress you've made. Gratitude fuels motivation and keeps you grounded. Howe also emphasizes the importance of balance. Discipline isn't about being rigid or restrictive, it's about creating a life that's aligned with your values and goals. He encourages readers to find joy in the process and to celebrate the small, everyday victories. As Howe wraps up the book, he leaves readers with a final thought. Discipline is the key to unlocking your potential and creating the life you've always wanted. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. So if you're ready to take control of your life, start with the Discipline Blueprint. Cultivate the right mindset, build the right habits, and hold yourself accountable. Remember, every step you take brings you closer to your vision. And with discipline, anything is possible. Part 11. Real-life applications of the Discipline Blueprint, Stories of Transformation, Part 1 of 3. In this section, Sheldon Howe brings the Discipline Blueprint to life through real-life stories of transformation. These stories aren't just inspiring, they're proof that discipline works, no matter where you start. The first story is about a man named Mark, who struggled with addiction for years. Mark had tried to quit multiple times, but he always relapsed. Then he discovered the Discipline Blueprint. He started by working on his mindset, replacing self-blame with self-compassion. He built small, consistent habits, like attending support group meetings and journaling daily. And he held himself accountable by sharing his journey with a trusted friend. Over time, Mark's life began to change. He stayed sober, rebuilt his relationships, and even started a nonprofit to help others struggling with addiction. Howe uses Mark's story to illustrate a powerful truth. Discipline isn't about being perfect, it's about progress. The second story is about a woman named Tina who wanted to climb the corporate ladder but felt stuck in her current role. Tina started by defining her vision, becoming a senior manager within 5 years. She broke it down into goals like improving her leadership skills and networking with industry professionals. And she built habits to support her goals, like reading 1 leadership book a month and attending 1 networking event a quarter. Tina also held herself accountable by sharing her goals with her mentor and tracking her progress in a journal. Within 3 years, she was promoted to senior manager, and she credits the Discipline Blueprint for her success. Howe uses these stories to show that discipline isn't just for athletes or entrepreneurs, it's for anyone who wants to create meaningful change in their life. Whether you're overcoming addiction, advancing your career, or pursuing a personal passion, the Discipline Blueprint can help you get there. Part 12. Real-life applications of the Discipline Blueprint, Lessons Learned, Part 2 of 3. In this part, Sheldon Howe reflects on the lessons learned from the real-life stories shared in the previous section. He distills these lessons into actionable insights that readers can apply to their own lives. The first lesson is start small, but start now. Many people get overwhelmed by the idea of making big changes, so they never start. But as Howe explains, discipline is about taking small, consistent steps. Whether it's writing 1 paragraph, doing 1 push-up, or saving $1, the key is to start. The second lesson is focus on progress, not perfection. Discipline isn't about being perfect, it's about making progress. If you slip up, don't beat yourself up. Instead, reflect on what went wrong, learn from it, and move forward. The third lesson is build a support system. Discipline is hard, and you don't have to do it alone. Whether it's a mentor, a friend, or an accountability partner, having someone to support and encourage you can make all the difference. The fourth lesson is celebrate your wins. Discipline is a long-term journey, and it's important to celebrate your progress along the way. Whether it's a small victory or a major milestone, take time to acknowledge and celebrate your achievements. Howe also emphasizes the importance of self-compassion. Discipline isn't about punishing yourself, it's about supporting yourself. Be kind to yourself, especially when things don't go as planned. As Howe wraps up this part, he leaves readers with a powerful reminder. Discipline is the ultimate form of self-love. It's about making choices that align with your values, your goals, and your vision for the future. Part 13. Real-life applications of the Discipline Blueprint. Your Turn, Part 3 of 3. In the final part of the book, Sheldon Howe turns the spotlight on you. He challenges readers to apply the Discipline Blueprint to their own lives and create their own stories of transformation. Howe starts by asking a series of thought-provoking questions. What's your vision for your life? What's one goal you want to achieve in the next year? What's one small habit you can start today to move closer to that goal? Who can hold you accountable? He encourages readers to take action, not tomorrow, not next week, but today. The best time to start was yesterday, he says. The next best time is now. Howe also provides a simple framework for getting started. Define your vision. What do you want to achieve? Be specific and make it meaningful. Set SMART goals. Break your vision down into specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals. Build habits. Identify one small habit you can start today to move closer to your goals. Establish accountability. Find someone or something to hold you accountable. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through How to Be Disciplined by Sheldon Howe. I hope these insights inspire you to take that first step toward building the life you've always dreamed of. Remember, discipline isn't about perfection, it's about progress. One small step at a time, you can achieve anything. If you found this summary helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on more life-changing book summaries. Let me know in the comments, what's one habit you're committing to starting today? Until next time, stay disciplined, stay motivated, and keep chasing your dreams. See you in the next video.